knowed my childhood was going to be difficult when my parents named my brother Cain. I'm not saying we had sibling rivalry, but when Pa asked Cain to carry out the trash, he hauled me halfway to the dump before I finally got away. When I grew up and joined the Marines and went to Vietnam, well, Cain joined the Viet Cong. When I finally got wounded and received the Purple Heart, Cain claimed all the credit. You see, I stepped on a landmine, but it was Cain that put it in my boot. A lot of folks don't know this, but Cain and I were twins. Well, naturally tried to claim that he was the firstborn. And me not knowing any better would have got away with it too. But Ma said I was born 3 months before him. You see how it happened? I was conceived on Ma and Pa's wedding night. And Pa left on a 3-month drunk. The only reason that he'd come home was because he mistook our place for a brothel. And he'd have got away with it too. But Ma couldn't break a 20. The reason that I said Cain and I were twins is because he disappeared a while back. But the brother I really want to talk about is Luke. You see, Luke was the toughest kid I ever saw. And I ought to know because we fought every day of our lives growing up. I mean, every day we'd be out behind the house or in some vacant field somewhere slugging it out. I mean, fist your jaw, blood flying everywhere. Hell, I'd have never even lived to grow it up if I had been 12 years older than him. Well, Luke was so tough that he whooped Pa a couple of times, and that took some doing. Of course, I was the only one that ever knocked Ma out. She always was a sucker for a left hook. Cain didn't even say goodbye. Of course, I left home immediately. Pa never did have no sense of humor, and I knowed he'd been out drinking. When Pa drank, he got mean. Of course, he always was mean, but drinking gave him a reason to celebrate it. Cain must have took after Pa. You see, Pa had this here rule, and he always lived by it. Never bring your drinking home. So he weren't home much. Ma used to complain that she saw more of Halley's Comet than she did of Pa. But there I go digressing again. I was saying I left home immediately. Immediately, 15 seconds after I heard Pa's truck in the driveway, I was packed and gone. I had to find me a place to live. They didn't have me no rent money. And the only one I knowed that would loan me any was Luke. I thought he'd have a stroke when I asked. You see, Luke was the tightest man I ever knowed when it come to buck. Well, I remember one time I borrowed $4 from him, and when I went to pay him back 15 years later, he checked to see if they had the same serial numbers. Of course, I was outraged. Didn't but 3 of them have the same numbers. That reminds me, Cain left still owed me 35 cents.